Well. I did not expect to be live with a conversation like this so soon after the news earlier about Erik ten Hag being sacked by Manchester United. But David Ornstein has confirmed that Manchester United are working on a deal to bring in Ruben Amorim, Sporting Lisbon's manager, and are willing to pay the €10 million release clause that it will cost to take him out of that contract. And it may well be that we have a new manager far sooner than I expected us to have. I thought it was going to be Ruben van Nistelrooy while they took their time. But I tell you what, judging by this and this news from David Ornstein, Manchester United, Ineos have been working on this in the background for some time, and they have just decided to pull the trigger here. I'm going to run through the news, which has literally just broken. All right, if you haven't seen it, I'll explain it all to you. What do you think about Ruben Amorim? It was about an hour and a half ago where I did a video listing all the managers that could well come through. Now, Fabrizio Romano is just confirming here what David Ornstein has said. I'm going to run through it. This is another breaking news story, and I'm going to cover it as best as I can. Right? As I said in my video that I did earlier today, Ruben Amorim is a manager that was on the list for Liverpool during the summer. He decided to stay. Ruben Amorim is somebody who plays with a system of 3 at the back. All right? I'm going to run through the full news story. You let me know what you think in the comments, okay? Manchester United are working on a deal to appoint Ruben Amorim as head coach. This is from The Athletic. Manchester United are working on a deal to appoint Sporting Lisbon's Ruben Amorim as their new head coach. Sources in Portugal, speaking anonymously, as they're not authorised to discuss the matter, have told The Athletic the 39-year-old is open to taking up the opportunity after Erik ten Hag was sacked earlier on Monday. United are ready to pay the release clause in his contract, with the two clubs already in talks to finalise a deal that could see Ruben van Nistelrooy take interim charge before Amorim's arrival. Okay? And then it's just a bit more detail, but that's the story right there. United are ready to pay €10 million release clause, and talks are already happening to finalise a deal. I did not see this coming. Chicky, you asking down there how soon could he be appointed? Well, it could happen. You could well see him in before the December fixtures, really. If they're in talks over finalising a deal already. Fabrizio Romano with a follow-up here, saying Manchester United have approached Sporting. He's the favourite candidate to replace Erik ten Hag. Man, Ineos decided this a while ago, right? Ineos clearly decided this a while ago, and they've just decided that now they pulled the trigger. Somebody just made a really good point down there. That's a really, really good point, actually. Who was that? Eric, you're saying mark the words head coach. Remember, this is a conversation that was had during the summer, all right? About whether or not Erik ten Hag should be replaced as Manchester United's manager. What Ineos did was they just extended his contract and he stayed on as Manchester United's manager. Whereas what Ineos want and the environment they are building and the environment they decided that Erik ten Hag wasn't the right man, having given him a quarter of this season to prove development that just never came, head coach. Dropping that head coach into an environment with our CEO of Omar Barada, our sporting director in Dan Ashworth, our technical director in Christopher Vivell, technical director in Jason Wilcox, and head of global talent in Chris Vivell. But Ruben Amorim, what's your thoughts on this down in the comments? All right? I've watched some of Sporting Lisbon. I'm sure we all have, right? This is the starting 11 from Sporting's most recent game. Of course, you've got Gyökeres, who's one of the hottest strikers in European football. You've got Hjulmand there, who was brought in, if I'm correct, it wasn't a direct replacement. What's his name? It wasn't a direct replacement. Was it Ugarte that he replaced? I mean, it might have been. But this is the big thing. This is the big switch. Amorim plays with 3 at the back. Plays with a wing-back system. 3 centre-backs. Now, that would perfectly, really, when you think about it on paper, perfectly suit a back 3 of Martinez, De Ligt and Yoro. You could well see Diogo Dalot I mean, he would definitely suit a wing back role more than a fullback. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Human was the Ugarte replacement. Of course, Ugarte is a player that is going to be like, Ugarte will be happy because, of course, he worked underneath him. Now, in terms of how Sporting have done in the Portuguese league, well, yeah, all right. Look, I'll be honest, there's one part of me that's definitely concerned because looking at Amorim and looking at what he's done at Sporting Lisbon, and I will do this in far more detail than I'm capable of doing in this live show, which is more around the news and more around your opinions, and let's have a conversation around it. I will do 2 videos on Amorim. We will do a video diving into his tactical approach and looking into the shape and where players can fit in. We can take a look at how Man United's 11 could look like with Ruben Amorim in charge, and we'll also do a deep dive into his whole career, just like we did with who did we do it with before? We did it with Ruud van Nistelrooy, and we've done it on Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth. We will do one on Ruben Amorim. I'm going to see what you're saying in the comments. Hakan saying let's bring in Gyökeres and Inacio. Inacio was a left-sided centre-back that we were looking at during the summer, but decided against it. I definitely think Delo could work well as a wing-back. Bruno, of course. Bruno Fernandes would love that appointment as well. 3 live shows in. Yeah, it has been a rather busy Monday. I didn't, for the life of me, expect this. I was explaining this in my show earlier. And you know what? Like, okay, let's try and step back. You might say this is Captain Hindsight speaking, but that was on the premise that Manchester United and Ineos were starting their work after Erik ten Hag has been sacked, saying, right, okay, Erik is gone. Okay, let's now do our work in let's see who's available. Let's go and look at the managerial market. What this shows is that probably a lot of the reports were correct around talks that were happening. I expected Ineos to have a contingency plan. I did not expect Erik ten Hag to be sacked at 12 p.m. on a Monday and at 6:45 p.m. on a Monday for Man United to be working on a deal to appoint a new head coach in Ruben Amorim, and more importantly, down there, in talks to finalise a deal. This isn't an opening email. This isn't an opening gambit. This is Manchester United working to appoint Ruben Amorim sooner rather than later, which makes me think, that Ineos have been doing this for a while. That Ineos have just decided to pull the trigger on this one now. What else are you saying down here in the comments? Garnacho, will Garnacho and Delo score an open goal? No, didn't really change that, does it? What's your thoughts on Amorim? As I said, I'm not saying that there's not similarities in how he plays football and how Erik ten Hag plays football, but it's just the fact that he's dominated in the Portuguese league. He's young. He's got a very good record with youth and bringing through the youth. He's got a style, but can it translate to the Premier League? Well, that'll be the question around him, and I imagine the same questions that existed around Erik ten Hag will exist around Ruben Amorim. Of course, he would come into a brand new environment from the get-go, a setup which is geared towards being a success for him. Erik ten Hag still had to sail and navigate through the crap of Manchester United for a couple of years before it finally came in, and unfortunately, it was a little bit too little too late. Wingers will suffer under his system, says Origami, and that is a question for sure, because obviously with the 3-5-2 system, wait, it's called a 3-4-2-1, whatever you want to call it, with a wing-back system, the width is going to come from the wing-backs, and typically your 2 central players here, which would be, it's probably going to be Bruno Fernandes as one of them, and probably Marcus Rashford as another one of them. Not quite sure on that, but Højlund would be up front. You would expect Delo over there, a central midfield pairing. You would expect a Ugarte plus Mainu, for sure. Left wing back, you might see Harry and Mas come through. I imagine you will probably see an actual left-footed left back. Then you've got Martinez, you've got De Ligt, and you've got Yoro. So the squad itself, I think, can fit quite easily in to a Ruben Amorim system. I don't think, you know what I said about like ripping up a squad and saying, oh my God, we're going for a manager with such a different direction. So many of these players have to go now. It's going to be a complete mishmash. It makes sense there. Joshua Zirkzee, would he fit inside that system? I think he would. He operates better centrally. Ahmad playing over there, that's a really good shout. Ahmad and Bruno. Ruben Amorim. I didn't expect it to be moving this fast. Now, as I said, of course, he was on the list for Liverpool during the summer. They wanted Xabi Alonso, and that didn't happen. And then it was Ruben Amorim. And I think he decided to stay at Sporting Lisbon. And then Liverpool sort of fumbled on Arne Slot in the same way that Spurs fumbled on Postecoglou when he was like their 9th choice. Going to go down here and read some more of your comments out. I would say, which players do you think, that's a question mark I'll ask, which players do you think would struggle in a system like that? The current Manchester United players. Because if you've only got, well, this will be an interesting one. This will be an interesting debate to have. Thomas Tuchel. Well, he's a little bit busy with England, mate. So I don't think he's going to be coming. Yeah, City have been linked with Amorim, of course, to replace Guardiola when he does eventually go. But maybe it makes sense giving a new manager a free season to get to know the squad, says Andes. I don't think this is a free season, if I'm being totally honest. And as I said, if Manchester United are indeed, which is what David Ornstein's reporting, working on that deal to appoint him and are in final talks, close, you could see the next 4 games. It may well be that Ruben van Nistelrooy is in charge for Leicester at home, for Chelsea at home, for, is it PAOK? And Leicester again. They may well be the 4 games where Ruben van Nistelrooy is in charge before Ruben Amorim comes in, probably at the start of the international break, and probably he'll be in charge for his first game. If I'm speaking hypotheticals here, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to be manager, but the fact that it is, the fact that United are in final talks already, he could be in charge for Ipswich. I did not expect that. Let me see what players you're saying that could struggle in a system like this. A couple of you are saying Garnacho. I think Garnacho is good enough that he can adapt to any system. And actually, I'll be honest, like with an actual fullback that overlaps, Garnacho, his natural position cuts inside anyway. So I would disagree on the Garnacho one. Casemiro, I think he's gone. Rashford, I would have question marks over, if I'm being honest. And for the fact that Rashford's best position is the left wing, which is also Garnacho's. Well, Garnacho can probably play on both. Maguire, I think Maguire could probably play in the system, but I don't think Maguire's going to be staying much longer. Quite a few of you are saying Zirkzee. Let's see down there. Right, more opinions down here. You could see Ruud in charge of the international. Well, that's exactly what I just said. And then Amorim goes in and settles and just, bam, he gets December. I'm going to see what else is breaking on this story because it's just happened right now. But I did not expect United to move this swiftly. Other reports saying United have been in talks with Ruben Amorim for a few days. Garnacho's just arrived at the Ballon d'Or ceremony. I wonder if he shared a plane with the City players or if he just went on his own. His release clause, reports are suggesting, is 20 million euros rather than 10 million euros. Nobody knows, I suppose. Caston, I think that's quite an obvious question. But what's going to happen with the current backroom staff? Typically, when it comes to any new manager coming in, the backroom staff leave. I would feel sorry for Ruben van Nistelrooy massively, actually. I would be very, very surprised if Ruben Amorim came in and Ruben van Nistelrooy was interim manager, say for 4 games, and Ruben van Nistelrooy was kept on by Amorim. I don't think he would do that. I don't think I would do that if I was Ruben Amorim, being completely honest. Cameron, you're saying he is perfect for Martinez, De Ligt and Yoro. Yeah, I've just said that. And this is actually remember what Gary Neville said about Manchester United moving to a back 3? Well, it seems like that's what Ineos have decided with the game plan. The game model was never, ever built around a specific formation. Okay? The game model was built around the way that said formation plays, the way that said manager approaches games of football. Now, of course, for Amorim in the Portuguese league with Sporting, he's dominated. But he has been a brilliant coach there, right? Let me see what else you're saying. Could it be a deal where he comes in into the season, gives him a chance to win? Yeah, it could well be. I would be surprised if Manchester United paid a release clause now if he was to come in the summer. I don't know. What's Brian saying? I think Amorim wouldn't mind that, no, because of the fact Rude knows the club. Yeah, maybe he would keep Rude on as a way to help him. You know, in the same way that David Moyes really should have kept René Meulenstein at the club. Instead, he just got rid of everybody, and then he didn't really know how to navigate the club. Different times, all right? We've now got a support network for Ruben Amorim, so he doesn't have to just lean on an assistant manager. He can go to his CEO, he can go to his sporting director or his technical director for help. Ugarte would definitely thrive in that system. Probably one of the most exciting things I would say about that system is the fact that it's built around a central midfield pairing, like a proper pairing. No isolated midfielders. That was probably my biggest bugbear of Erik ten Hag's approach, and like the vertical nature of his football. The concept, of course, was to get United down the pitch very quickly, but the reality was that when you lost the ball, and United lost the ball too often, we had an isolated central midfielder who couldn't cover all the space on his own. Now, inside that system, less likely to happen. And it really would suit Martinez, De Ligt, and Yoro as starting. You could argue that Martinez suits that back three better for sure. And De Ligt is, like, when you play in a back three, you have that central centre-back is like your powerhouse. He's your one who doesn't really have to, not that he doesn't have to move too much, but he's your dominant physical centre-back. De Ligt falls into that role absolutely perfectly. And Yoro, as a right-sided centre-back, somebody who loves covering space and has the ability to cover the channels on his own, he would really suit that. And by doing those two there and having Martinez as a progressive left-sided centre-back, that back three works really, really well. Straight away. You can see that. Garner, you're not going to be the only one who's going to be saying this, and no doubt it would probably happen if you're being honest. Gyökeres coming to United. He has been a phenomenal striker. He has been a phenomenal striker. But yeah, I think I'd have the most questions, and quite a few of you have said this down there in the comments. I'd have the most questions around where United's players would fit in these positions. And the current ones we have. Anthony has no future in there. Rashford, I would have question marks. Garnacho, I think, would probably suit, but I still think maybe some question marks. Ahmad would probably be the one that you would say fits in the most there. But yeah, they'd be the ones I'd have the most questions about. Højlund, I think, would fit perfectly. Xerxes, I think, yeah, there'd be question marks around him. The squad wouldn't be perfect for it. Someone saying Mason Mount would thrive. Mount would... I mean, you could see Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount there if you want a really high energetic pressing system. Ineos have not... You might say that Ineos have been messing around because, well, they waited until now to sack Erik ten Hag. Ineos have decided to pull the trigger when they felt that they needed to, but clearly they've been doing their work behind the scenes. Obviously. Someone saying, where would Mazraoui fit in? I think Mazraoui would be a very good wing-back. Wing-backs don't just have to be like a... You know how we've been linked with Jeremy Frimpong for so long? Now, inside that system, Jeremy Frimpong could be a fantastic signing. Easily. But not in the system that we had previously. Does he have any other formation, says Amy? I'm pretty sure that he's quite religious with the three at the back. I'll do some more research and see if there's any variations on it. Sam, you think it's a nice move from Ineos? Kang saying Ahmad would work pretty well there. Yeah, I think he would. Pressing system. Buzzwords, I don't know. Look. That would change. Isn't it strange? Like, you feel like Ineos are kind of just like biding their time, waiting to see if Erik ten Hag is making that process, whereas in reality, they've sacked a manager and they're in final talks over his replacement straight away. So we just didn't really know what was going on. Odie, You're saying there, can you shout out Harold and Gaz? You're all sitting here watching. How you doing, lads? What else are you saying down here? If Amorim made Gyökeres a beast, I can't imagine what he'd do with Rasmus. I'd be very, very excited about the prospect of Rasmus Højlund playing there. It may well be, if he was to be brought in, right, and it happened and we got him in December and he's here before the end of the season, and he's here for like, what, 2/3 of the season? You might not need to speak about Gyökeres because of how good Højlund becomes. Would be a perfect striker in that scenario. Brian saying, do you think this was done a few days ago? I don't know whether this was done a few days ago. However, what has become obvious is that United weren't just sitting there just praying that it might work out with Erik ten Hag. Ineos have had their man and they've lined him up straight away. Now, it might not be the man that you wanted. I spoke about Amorim in my video I did earlier today. And I said Nagelsmann was a name that lots of people wanted, but of course Nagelsmann is in charge of the German national team, and he sort of found his place there. After a tough time at Bayern Munich, he's enjoying himself, and he's probably going to be in charge. Well, by the looks of it, he's going to be in charge for the World Cup. And then I mentioned Thomas Frank. I don't think he would have been a bad choice compared to some of the other names on that list, and we spoke about a few more. Xavi was there, Simone Inzaghi, but Ruben Amorim. I'm really excited to be able to do a deep dive into him, to look at his career path so far, and to really take a look at his tactics and how United could line up underneath him. Theodore saying, how advanced is the Amorim deal? I'll run through anybody who's just tuning in. Welcome to United People's TV. It's been a busy day. It's clearly going to be a busy time. And I'm going to cover everything to do with Amorim, if he's going to be our new manager, and everything that follows. So make sure you do subscribe. But it is advanced. We go down here. This is from David Ornstein, all right? Man United are working on a deal to appoint Ruben Amorim. He's open to taking up the opportunity, and United are ready. This is the big one here. I'll highlight that for you. Manchester United are ready to pay the €10 million release clause in his contract, with the two clubs in talks to finalise a deal that could see Ruud take charge before Amorim's arrival. So it may well be, as I said, that Ruben Amorim is in charge probably for the Leicester game. That's what I would imagine. If he was to come in, I said earlier, I expected Manchester United to take their time and to look at the whole market and to assess. But Man United have already been doing that behind the scenes. They've kept it internal. They've already done all that due diligence, so they don't have to wait. And I suppose that's what a proper football structure and setup does. In terms of how quickly can he be appointed, it's as quickly as Manchester United pay the release clause and he agrees to become manager, right? Yeah, Ujan, look, if you look at how Sporting have played this season, yeah, played 9, won 9, scored 30, conceded 2. They have been dominating the Portuguese league. I think that's fair to say. And in terms of their most recent starting 11, that was it there. What do you think about mounting this system? As I say, you could run through Manchester United's squad. Okay, let's just quickly do that, actually. That would be an interesting thing to do. Run through the squad. And let's kind of just properly pick out the players we think could really thrive. Right? Lindelof won't be here past the summer. Mazraoui, I think, would be fine. De Ligt, I think, would thrive. Maguire, I think, will be sold in the summer. Martinez, I think, could thrive. Malacia, all depends on fitness. But I think he could easily fit in as a left wing-back for sure. Lenny Yoro, I think, would love this system. Diogo Dalot, I think, would probably be a better right wing-back than he would be a right-back. Luke Shaw, not going to comment on him. Johnny Evans, won't be here next season. Harry Amas, he would fit. Midfielders, Mason Mount would fit. Bruno would fit. Christian Eriksen, maybe not so much. And Casemiro, maybe not so much, simply because of age. Ugarte, we know he'd thrive. Kobbie Mainoo and Ugarte, you're looking at your midfield starters there. Toby Collier, for sure. And Dangor as well. Højlund would fit. Rashford, I'd have question marks, if I'm honest. Xerxes, probably have some question marks. Ahmad would definitely fit. I think Garnacho's good enough to fit in any system. And Anthony, no chance. That is a majority of that squad that I think could fit into an Amorim system. And that's what I said to you, and I'm repeating myself here, but I think it's a really important point to make. That Ruben Amorim wouldn't be a U-turn appointment from United that goes completely against everything that we may have ultimately wanted to see from this United team under Erik ten Hag, but never really got to see. There's a lot of crossover. to what Ruben Amorim could do as United manager. Origami, you mentioned in Alvaro Fernandez. He would definitely thrive in that wing-back role. And remember that United got that buyback clause. What are you saying down here? Yeah, Renzo, I've already mentioned that point as well. If you're saying you're getting Ten Hag flashbacks with the signing of someone like Amorim, I would get Ten Hag flashbacks for the fact that when we got Ten Hag, I looked at him and thought, that there is one of the best young coaches in world football. And that's why I was excited about Ten Hag. And you can say the exact same thing about Amorim. It's not to say that I think, it's going to be what we're walking down the same path. But I'd have similar concerns. No, man, Ineos could not appoint any manager without some element of risk, without some concerns. But as Spurs have shown with Postecoglou, as Chelsea have shown with Maresca, as Liverpool have shown with Slot, if you make the right risks, it can work out. How would the wingers fit? Someone says down there, I don't think the wingers would really fit in the system. The wingers play quite centrally, so it wouldn't be the width in Amorim's system would come from the wing backs rather than the wingers. You'd more be looking at inverted wingers. That's kind of what exists in Amorim's system. Salim saying we had so much hope for Ten Hag. Yeah, we did, man. We absolutely did. Chiku saying we're hijacking City. I wouldn't say it's particularly hijacking City, but Amorim was on the list for Liverpool. Amorim has been on the list for City in terms of Guardiola's replacement. So Amorim is a coach with a strong reputation and a very clear playing style. You don't have to guess how Amorim's United would play. That's the system, right? Let me see what else you're saying down here. Talking about, I'm not saying that Ten Hag, I know Ten Hag had inverted fullbacks. I'm saying that Amorim would have the opposite. It wouldn't be inverted fullbacks. It will be wing backs that really hold the width. In the same way that they did for under Bayer Leverkusen with, who was it? Who was on the left-hand side for, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. It was Frimpong and I can't remember, Grimaldo. I think it was Grimaldo. Were the two wing backs last season for Leverkusen. And they got a phenomenal amount of goals and assists. Yeah, I'll agree with that point down there, chaotic. I think I like the fact that I see Ineos moving quickly. It goes to show that what we've been seeing on the surface hasn't truly been what's been going on behind the scenes. And they have been planning and preparing for this. All right, let me see what else you're saying down here in the comments. Sporting players will be a lot cheaper than Benfica's. Well, we don't need to look at that squad just yet. I suppose my prediction now would be that Amorim's going to be in charge for Ipswich. And we'll get 4 games of Rude as manager. What did we have? Did we have 3 games of Carrick? Put it in the comments. What were the 3 games that we played under Carrick? Was it Villarreal away, Arsenal at home, and there was one more game. I can never remember the third game. Was it Chelsea? I think it was Villarreal away, Chelsea away, and then Arsenal at home. And then straight after the game is when Carrick just surprisingly said that he resigned. I think they were the 3 games. And we see what you're saying. So Nomadic saying this team isn't good enough. Sell Bruno and Casemiro and Rashford. Sack them. They will get Amorim sacked. Casemiro is going to be leaving. Bruno Fernandes has just signed a new contract, remember? And I do think that he would thrive in a system like that, where Bruno Fernandes has got protection from his fullbacks plus 2 central midfielders. That's a system where you get the most out of Bruno Fernandes and you don't have to worry about him losing the ball. For sure. Absolutely for sure. Yeah, 3 live shows in a day. It's been a busy day. Yeah, I think those are the 3 games. So yeah, maybe we only get 4 games. Someone asking down there, Mick, it's not a done deal for Amorim. This is coming from, as I said, David Ornstein. But United are working on a deal and are in final talks. Talks to finalise a deal ongoing right now. And Ineos have moved swiftly. Ineos have made the decision already behind the scenes. Let me see what else is being said down there. Manchester Evening News reporting that Ruben Amorim ticks more boxes on United's checklist than any of the possible candidates. Wonder what that checklist is. United are in advanced talks to sign him. Yeah, just all the reports just following up on what David Ornstein has said, basically. That it's looking likely to be Amorim. Well, you can't say that they haven't made their decision. I think the only thing you could argue is whether or not it should have happened earlier. I can see it. Yeah, I agree down there. Fabrizio Romano is also saying the same thing. Looks like we've got a Ruben Amorim deep dive coming on the channel, ladies and gents. Looks like we're going to have another video looking at his tactical approach as well. 10 million euros is the release clause, which if that's the case, right, if that is the case and Ruben Amorim's release clause is 10 million euros, which is around about £8 million, I believe it will cost around in the region of 15 to 16 million to sack Erik ten Hag. So I think roughly United would have spent about £24 million thereabouts, if Amorim comes in, of course, on sacking Erik ten Hag and bringing in Ruben Amorim. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. How many Sporting or Portugal players would you take into United squad? That's a long old question. Yeah, I know Sporting Lisbon have got 30 goals this season. They have been banging them in. Right. Please fire in any more questions you've got around it. We can have a little chat. Is Amorim the top target according to you? He would certainly have been in my top three. Nagelsmann would have been in there. Amorim would have been in there. And then the third one probably would have been kind of researching the rest and which one you chose, whether you thought that Hoeneß could step up from what he's done at Stuttgart, or whether you thought the last season, not a flash in the pan, but whether you thought last season was when it really clicked. Inzaghi, I don't think Inzaghi would have left Inter Milan, if I'm being completely honest, or whether he would have been the right choice. I think Thomas Frank would have been a contender. I don't think that would have been massively popular for some United fans. But it definitely would have had Amorim and Nagelsmann as two of the top three choices. I don't know who I would have chosen for the third one. That'll be any January transfer budget gone, says Aaron. Well, this is why United have been cutting costs wherever possible. Because it's expensive running a football club. And this mitigation here, these are sort of special I say they're special circumstances. They're having every bloody 3 years at United. This is why they're trying to save the pennies wherever possible, because they're going to have to spend a hell of a lot of money on sacking managers and bringing in new managers. Will this be the beginning of another 3-year cycle? I pray and hope it isn't. Because if Ineos get what they want, right? And David Ornstein's confirmed. Let's go down here. Let's see the tweet as well. Did he say that they were the first choice? That he's top choice? 1 second there. Right. Let's just leave this on screen. So David Ornstein confirmed that United are working on that deal. If Ineos get what they want and Manchester United win the Premier League by 2028, then, ladies and gents, you are looking at the man who is going to be lifting the Premier League for the first time as Manchester United manager after Sir Alex Ferguson. That's their 3-year plan. And they think that Amorim is the man to be able to deliver that. They won't be looking at this season as a write-off season. They will be looking at this season going, we can still qualify for the Europa League, and we are, 7 points off the top 4? This season, unfortunately, will be a top 4 finish, and a Europa League would be a great season, a great season from this point. And next season would be where the progress is expected. Next season would be, now we need to break into that top 3, and come the start of April, still be in that conversation. And then the third season is when Now you challenge for the Premier League. So Ineos have chosen Ruben Amorim. I don't think the season's over yet, man. It's the 28th of October. Where are we in the league? I know where we are in the league. I think we're 7 points off fourth. Let's have a look. Here's the table. Villa's got 18. We've got 11. Yes, we're 7 points off fourth after 9 games. Just under a quarter of the way through the season. Far from over. Far from over. Rizky, you're saying down there what I've already said. I remember you were hyping Ten Hag so much when he first joined. You discussed his personality and tactics with so much detail. I did all my research. And I was excited about Ten Hag for good reason, because so much made sense. I looked at his philosophy. Now I'll say, hand on heart, I didn't realise that his philosophy was so player-based. I thought it was a philosophy that was true and core to him, but ultimately he switched everything up because of the players he had at United. So it wasn't really a philosophy per se. It was, I'll adapt to what I've got. Is Ruben Amorim the same? I mean, I doubt it. I doubt he's going to come to United and switch from a 3-at-the-back system. But of course I was excited. Erik ten Hag was the number 1 candidate for me when we appointed him. That's why I was so disappointed. Genuinely thought it was bang on. Europa is way too difficult. It's not, man. We've drawn our first 3 games. And we've got who next? We've got PAOK, Bodo Glimt, Victoria Pleasant. I've got Rangers at home. And there's one more game in there as well. They're games we can win all 5 of them. For sure we can win all 5 of them. C. Billington saying, I feel Anthony could be given a chance. Nah, Anthony for me is probably the first name out the door. There's no way that Anthony would work in an Amorim system. Anthony would have to play as basically a right wing back. There. You might say that Anthony would work in that scenario. But I still would rather he got sold. We've had all of our hardest Europa League fixtures already. Is Onana going to fit in this system? Yes. Breaking news. Amorim does indeed play with a goalkeeper. All right. So that's good. It's really good to know. And then maybe this will be a system where we actually start to see Onana's distribution come back to the levels that we thought we were going to get when we signed him from Inter. Because that's just one thing I just haven't been able to get my head around. Anthony at left wing back. Yeah, Nathan, Amas could get a chance. There's lots of players that could get a chance. I'm a little bit shocked, I suppose. I'm shocked that we're having this conversation today. Didn't expect that at all. I wasn't shocked or surprised that Ineos sacked Erik ten Hag today. I was sitting there preparing my video to explain why I felt that it was past the point of no return. And, well, Ineos agreed. But I am surprised that within 7 hours, we're in final talks to appoint Amorim. Let me ask you, read some more questions out for the last 5 minutes of the show, and then we'll wrap this one up. Or as long as you keep firing questions in, we can still have a conversation. Josh, I agree. It is quick. 3-4-3 wide would accommodate wingers. The width from Amorim's system comes from the wing-backs rather than the wingers. They're more inverted wingers. So I just don't think he's going to switch that up. Kobe Mainu and Manuel Ugarte, that, ladies and gents, is a central midfield pairing that could really work in that system. Really, really work. I've seen some people down there say release clause is 20 million euros, not 10 million. I apologise to you, but I'm going to be listening to David Ornstein, who says 10 million right there. So yeah, I don't really care where you're getting that information from. I'm going to be listening to David Ornstein, all right? And I've seen it from random Italian journalists on Twitter. What else is he saying down there? Portuguese media are claiming that it's a 16.6 million release clause. David Ornstein saying it's 8.3 million. Someone knows. Who cares? Don't really care how much it is as long as we've got the money. I mean, it might affect FFP, but we don't really know. Would Ahmad have a future in Amorim's system? I do genuinely think he would work really well inside that system. Will he keep Ruud as manager? I don't think he would keep Ruud as an assistant. Afil saying, where would Bruno Fernandes play? think it's quite easy and obvious. Bruno Fernandes would play in one of these two positions, right? And then you would have the fullback offering the width there, allowing Bruno to sort of drift inside, and a striker up there. That would be the basic system, right? That would be the basic system. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does speak good English. I'm pretty sure I need to actually look at that. Who would be his first signing? Well, let's not think that far ahead. We're only in final talks. Carl, I love that. Another Ineos move, which the press didn't know about before everyone else. I do enjoy seeing that. I really do enjoy seeing that. Remember the Omar Barada stuff? Boom, Omar Barada out of nowhere. Ruben Amorim, you can now throw him into that as well. We need a midfielder to replace Casemiro. We absolutely do. That I genuinely do think that system is perfect for Bruno, if I'm being totally honest. Who would benefit the most? That's a good question down there. Put that in the comments. We'll wrap this show up today with that question. Which Manchester United player, if this will be the system, a 3 at the back, 2 wing backs, 2 central midfielders, 2 more inverted wingers, and a sole striker. Which player do you think would benefit the most in that system? I need to think about it a bit more, but off the top of my head, I would probably say Højlund. Euro, I think, would be a really good shout. Ugarte is a good shout. Bruno, I think, would thrive in this system. But Højlund is an actual focal point with a system geared towards getting balls into the box. I think Højlund could love that, man. I don't think Rashford would thrive in this system. I'm not saying it will be impossible. I just don't think it's a system that is geared towards getting the best out of him. Someone saying Mason Mount down there. Kobbie Mainoo. I think Kobbie Mainoo would definitely get something out of it, but I think there's others who would get more. Ugarte was probably... I think Ugarte or Højlund would probably be the two I would suggest. Højlund's about to explode, someone says down there. Darren saying suits Rashford perfectly. Inside forward is his best position. I mean, it depends. You could play... Well, in this system here, the way that it is, there is no number 10 role anymore. So therefore, you're not playing Bruno there. Therefore, you're playing Bruno as one of these. Therefore, you're playing Rashford or Garnacho or Ahmad as the other one. We're going to have some options there. I could really see this system working with that squad. And I think that's the first exciting thing I would say about Amorim. It wouldn't be a massive rip-up and a massive need for 6, 7, 8 players to fit a new system. I think a lot of them would just fit into it. And Lenny Yoro would be excited about that. De Ligt would be as well. And Martinez. Yeah, Maguire is good in the back 3. I still do think that Maguire will be moved on in the summer. I just think so anyway. Casemiro would be the best, says Salim. I think Casemiro would have more protection in this system. If you play with that back 3 there, you play with a higher line, you squeeze the pitch and you stay compact, Casemiro wouldn't get as exposed. And inside this system, you wouldn't see Casemiro running across everywhere. But I think Casemiro's gone in the summer regardless of what happens. Can he play Xerxes and Højlund together? No, I don't think that would ever happen. He would play with one striker. So, and in that sense, Xerxes... Remember that Xerxes played... Didn't Atalanta play with a wing-back system? I'm pretty sure they did. I'm pretty sure that's where Xerxes thrived. So it's not... You can't say that Xerxes couldn't thrive in the system because he's already done that at Atalanta. I swear it was a back 3 system. Andrew saying Ten Hag sacked and replaced in 24 hours. It really looks like that. Of course, the deal's not done, but United have obviously identified Amorim. We're in final talks. 10 million euros, 20 million euros. Who cares about the price? Looks like he wants the job, and United have made their choice. Ruben Amorim. Suppose it makes that. Sorry, why did I say Atalanta? I meant Bologna. But the point, because I was speaking about Rasmus Højlund. Yeah, apologies about that. Bologna played that system, and he did thrive in that system. So he can play my point is that Xerxes can play in a system that plays with the back 3. All right, we signed him from a club that did it. Let's find out. Looks like I'm going to be having a busy November and a busy week coming up. Thank you all for tuning in. If you are new to United People's TV, please do subscribe. I'm going to be covering everything, just like I always do. All right. Ruben Amorim, make sure you leave your comments on the video after the live is done. But Ineos have made their choice. We're in final talks. And my prediction now would be Amorim's probably going to be in charge for Ipswich in 4 games' time. We've got Ruud for Leicester in the Cup, Chelsea in the league, PAOK in the Europa League, and then a final game against Leicester. 4 home games for Ruud. That's what I think.